Welcome to the Manifestation and Money podcast, Tricia.
Hi, thank you for having me, Jen.
I'm pumped to chat with you today, and I would love to start with you sharing with the listeners just who you are and what your story is.
Yeah, so I am Trysha Berndt. I am the capacity queen. I am a somatic and subconscious coach. I love getting to blend the woo-woo energy with the things that make sense in a way that it leaves people like it's impossible to argue with. I think that my favorite thing is getting to take people that are kind of curious about stepping into energetics, Kundalini, but maybe they don't all the way have the buy-in. And I feel like I get to be that bridge for them, the thing that allows them to logically connect the dots, but also start to connect to their body and continue on that path of self-discovery, getting connected with their intuition and just coming home to themselves.
Yeah, that sounds so expansive. And I want you to share how did that come into your life? Where is your origin story where you got to experience this?
Yeah, so I will give as an abridged of a version of as I can. I struggled with postpartum depression with both of my kids, 2014, 2017, started counseling in 2017, diagnosed bipolar in 2019, and I've always been somebody that takes it very serious. My counselor would give me homework, I would go do the things. I was very much, I wanted to expand my toolkit as much as possible. And in 2022, I took a life coaching certification, and that opened my eyes to a very different level of maybe I can actually do a lot of this work myself. And how can I expand those toolkits so that I can deepen my knowledge and deepen my experience and open myself up to there's so many healing modalities, so many regulating modalities. And in 2023, I had this incredible, this feels like my butterfly effect manifestation moment. I saw this car driving through town with this beautiful logo on the side of it. And I was just wondering, what is Sunset Studios? And I didn't say it out loud to anybody. I got home, I opened my phone, and there's this ad for a Kundalini breathwork class at that studio. And it was one of those moments that it was hard to ignore. I was struggling with a depressive episode at the time, and it was, I don't even know how to pronounce this word, and I don't know what a breathwork class is, but I'm clearly supposed to be here. And that class was the first time that I experienced any sort of connection with my body. And fast forward, I wound up introduced to a mentor in 2024, and I wanted to take her certification to learn the skills for myself. It was never something that I thought I'm going to add this to my business toolkit. Didn't really think it would be something I would teach. I just wanted to learn Kundalini, nervous system regulation, emotional work, all of those things for myself. And 2 weeks into the class, I knew this is my soul's purpose. And it's been really cool to see that it all just kind of transpired from that one moment where everything clicked. And I trusted that intuitive nudge. I trusted that the universe connected these dots for me in this moment for some reason. I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to go do it. And it's just been this beautiful unfolding since.
I love that. I love when the universe, like the synchronicities start lining up and you feel like in your core, I have to say yes to this. Like, why am I seeing these things coming up on my radar and I'm noticing them? You have to pay attention to that. So I want you, just so that the listeners are clear, explain what Kundalini is.
Yeah, so Kundalini is our life force energy. That is something that we are all born with. It is different than when people wake up in the morning, they're like, I don't have energy. It's we think about the energy and motion. That's not this. Life force energy is that like divine Shakti energy that we get to move with, and we radiate that kind of energy out into the world. That's like we get to work with our aura, and it's our radio signal that tells people like this is kind of who I am. It's the energy that we have that when you walk into a room, someone's like, I want to talk to you. Or somebody walks into a room and you're like, I don't know why, I just don't want to be over there. And when we do Kundalini yoga, we get to just really explore with that energy in our body. We work with energetic meridians. The movements vary. We work with pressure points, we do breath work. It's all just coming home to you.
Mhm. I'm loving this because in the world of manifestation, we talk about energy a lot. And I think a lot of people might associate that with, like you said, at first, almost like the physical energy, the go out and get up and do things. But this is the other piece of it that I think, unless you get into the world of learning about it, is harder to articulate, harder to explain, but is such an important piece, especially in manifestation, because if you are coming from a place where you're completely disconnected, knowing what this energy is, or this energy in you feels heavy, it feels depressive, it feels that gripping, stifling, like when you're out, say, doing the hustle, you're just in that loop. To have tools at your fingertips to be able to help shift your energy or to connect with your energy, I think that's a huge piece of manifestation. So I definitely want to dig into all this energy stuff a little bit more here with you.
Yeah, yeah. And it is something that when we talk about doing Kundalini practices, Kundalini yoga, when somebody has their first sort of awakening, and some people have that like big, oh my God, I got hit by a freight train. I cannot ignore this truth in my body. Maybe the first time that you practice Kundalini, and that was my experience, was this like, oh my God, I can't ignore this. And some people it is a little bit longer because our energy, our Kundalini lives like at the base of our spine. It's coiled up 3.5 times and it travels up our spine, our sushumna, and it wants to flow through our body, but it gets suppressed under limiting beliefs, projected crap, trauma, like societal expectations, all of those things. And as we get to peel back the layers, we start to really open up that manifestation door of like, I know what I actually want. So I get to send this signal to the universe and to the world around me to say, hey, I'm open to anything. And I think that's like the most exciting piece when we think about manifestation. I know for myself, I used to grip to, I want to manifest my vision board. It's taught to us like that specificity, set SMART goals. Oh, I hate putting myself into that little pigeonhole. I'm like, universe, just show me how good it can get. Please.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I will continue to show up with intention and integrity, and I will listen to my intuition as much as I listen to you, but just like show me how good it can get. And I think that it
I,
makes manifestation so fun.
yeah, I love that as a mantra. Show me how good it can get.
That's
That
been,
is so expansive because it just opens you up to possibility. And it probably opens you up. To me, that would look like opportunities coming your way, being able to say yes to things. And if you're just under the truth and the expectation that it is as good as it's going to get, it's going to be easier to say yes to those things.
yeah, yeah, like you coming up to my booth at that small business fair that I was like, I have no business being here. It was lesson learned, but even out of all of that, I can look at it as why was I at a craft fair at Christmas time? Like none of that made any sense. But if I hadn't have put myself in that room, I wouldn't have met you and we wouldn't have had these conversations and we wouldn't have met and I wouldn't be speaking on your podcast right now. And it's not like I went to that event thinking, I'm gonna line up a podcast. Like I'm gonna make a really cool connection today was my big thing. It's like maybe
Mhm.
I'll just have really cool conversations with really cool people. I will see where it leads. And
Yeah.
this is where it's led, and it's really cool.
Yeah. And I think you touched on something important there, which is when we're in the world of manifestation or goal setting, planning big things, we want to know the steps. We want to know what we're supposed to do, but sometimes it's just one step at a time that we have to take as the path unfolds. But then you look backwards, like in that moment of you saying, okay, I'm at a craft fair at Christmas time. This just feels like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? Even though I signed up to be here with the intention that something good is going to come from it. Now you can look backwards and go, ah, okay, it was exactly what I needed it to be. And
Yeah.
that's just a fun way of looking at life. So I want to let's go into breath work because I went to one of your classes that you did. And I know there was a member there that had an experience, and I had a similar experience when I went to a prior breathwork type workshop where you're doing this breathing and stuff. and your body is releasing stuff that you don't even know you're hanging on to. Like my experience, I just started bawling in this group of people and I was just sobbing. And the lady walked over and handed me a tissue. And I still don't understand. So maybe you can help me understand more what that was, what is happening, how it's happening. Any insights from you would be lovely.
Yeah. So it is that release, right? We talk about all the energetic gunk, the limiting beliefs, everything that's stacked up from everybody else over time. Our body is hanging on to it. And it's like, I love the visual because I talk a lot about coming home to yourself. So I love the visual of a home. Over time, we end up being pack rats almost, right? Not intentionally, but if we don't do the work to come home to ourselves, to breathe, to choose to release, it's just more and more and more boxes getting thrown into the basement, stuffed into the attic, like all of these traumas and trauma with a big T and a little t. Like if your body doesn't know how to process an event, if it doesn't know what emotion is attached to it, which can happen in childhood through small things. If you don't have an emotionally intelligent parent and nobody taught you how to cope with something that maybe seems insignificant, like public speaking, right? I remember the very first Christmas concert that I did. I was so anxious about going up. I remember puking on the boy in front of me all over his clean white shirt. His name was Christopher. Like, I remember that. But there was no processing of why that happened. Why did my body respond in that way to a Christmas concert? Like, so if we don't process it, now it stores in our body. And we just have that accumulation over time. And when I think about doing breath work and we come home to ourselves and maybe we send our breath to a different area of our body, we really focus on, I've got this tension in my neck and there's no explanation for it, or I've got tight hips. Like we can send our breath there and it starts to loosen it. And depending on where you are in your journey with the relationship with your body, with energetic work, maybe in the beginning, it's just sending your breath there and that's it. And it just slowly starts to loosen. It's kind of like the surface clean in the house. But the more you do the work, the more your body feels safe actually releasing those things. Now we go in and we almost get to have a conversation with our body. And now in a breath work class, something like that can come up, that remembrance from the Christmas concert in kindergarten, that actual event comes up and full processing happens. And we learn that, man, like I've been carrying this and I see how that has impacted all of the other areas of my life. And it's just this like massive, you deep cleaned an entire room. And when you turn around and you look at it and there's this like, just release. And for a lot of us, that does come out as tears, right? We move our water element, our water meridians, very associated with emotions. So when we release all of that, we get that flood, right? It's like the dam broke. Here it goes. And it's incredibly healing to normalize that release is safe. So many people want the release. They feel the emotions. They're aware of them. They're shoving them down while they're stuck in grind and hustle. And I got to cook dinner and I don't have time to feel my emotions because we think that once we start crying, it's never going to stop. Like that's the most unrealistic story that our brain comes up with, that sometimes I'm just like, I just want to shake you. Like, no, it's not possible. Maybe you'll cry for an hour and that is exhausting and you'll have an emotional hangover. But in all likelihood, if we just always, release the valve, if you maybe just go take 5 minutes and breathe and witness yourself and like what's bringing up these emotions. Did today something triggered grief because you had a family member pass? And there's so many layers to this and it could be such a long conversation, and I know we have that 20-minute mark today, but it is that you get to teach your body that it's normal, and you're not always going to have that cathartic release, right? You might come to next month's full moon ceremony and it might be joy and ecstasy and like, oh my God, I just feel so light in my body. But just knowing that experience gets to be different every single time, and there's no right or wrong way to experience it. We get to
Yeah.
that's what expands our capacity. Like we clear out the gunk so we have room to hold the things that we are calling in, the manifestations. We have to actually have room. It would be like your house being so cluttered and you find the perfect couch, like the one that you're like, oh, I would love to live on this, but there's no room in the living room for it. We have to do the purge. You have to create the space, or the couch is never even going to present itself, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a fun analogy. So we're creating or treating our energetic systems like we're a bunch of pack rats just hanging on to stuff. That visual sticks. You
Yeah.
said something in there a couple times, feeling safe in your body. I think that is a big one that links into manifestation too. I think it's hard for us to ask for what we want because there's this fear that we're going to just upset, like whether it's people or expectations or whatever, these boundaries that we put on ourselves. But how do we bring ourselves back to feeling safe in our own body?
That's so different for everybody, right? And we actually had this conversation. So, for everybody that wants to deepen into this conversation, I actually shared a reel at the beginning of April because my daughter came to a full moon ceremony and she's 12 at the end of this month. I've just accepted that she's 12 already. But she comes to this and I said, today wasn't as emotional of a practice. And she says, what do you mean, Mom? She says, I cried. And I asked her, I was like, why did you cry? And she's telling me, she says, you know, it's safety. She said, it's not that I don't feel safe in general. Like she feels safe walking to school and all of those things. But she was talking about how she doesn't necessarily always feel safe to express herself around certain people at school because she thinks they're going to judge her. But in that room, in that ceremony, as we're talking about visualizing our energy and like pouring into the room and then visualizing your own energy, she said it's the first time she felt safe to explore that. And she
Mm.
learned so much. So safety really is, there's physical safety, right? Do you actually feel physically safe in your environment, in your space, in your relationships? But emotional safety, do you feel like you can share what's on your heart? Do you feel like you can even explore your emotions, or do you feel like you're going to be shamed or judged or anything like that? Safety just feels like softening. It feels like you can relax. I don't have to be in fight or flight. That's the biggest thing. If you are stuck in fight or flight, if you are always like go, 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 there's no safety. There's that sense of if I stop moving, something bad's gonna happen, or things are going too good, something bad is gonna happen. That's the biggest. I will keep my language PG because it's your podcast, but like that's the biggest block that we create for ourselves with manifestation is we get too worried that something's going to be too good and that's going to get taken away from us. We don't even feel safe attracting the things that we want because we're worried it's either going to get taken away from us or there's this like tit for tat. Like if something good goes on in business, something in life is going to fall off or vice versa, right? And there's this always, we view that everything in manifestation as compromise, ultimatums, and that's not it. It's simply, can I create so much safety in my body, in my environment, in the circles that I'm in, that I have the capacity to hold two truths? Because sometimes good things are happening and a bad thing follows, but it's not because of the good thing that happened. That's the biggest thing that I challenge. That I have this ampersand tattoo on my wrist, that and can I experience two things at once? I have to have the capacity to experience two things simultaneously and not have one detract from the other, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And there's freedom in that. There's freedom too in not connecting the things together because I think it's so easy to do that. And even for me, when I have a big manifestation, I go into turtle mode and I feel like, oh, I got that thing. I asked for that thing. That felt like a lot. I think I've asked for enough. Now I just have to pull back and hold back. But no, you can ask for the big thing and you can still be going for this other big cool thing over here too at the same time. I'm curious for you, what is kind of like one of your favorite tools in your tool bag to bring yourself if you're in a an unregulated state. You're feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling meh. What is one of your favorite tools to bring yourself into a better energetic state?
I feel like people that watch this podcast, probably some of you know human design. I'm a manifesting generator and I don't like uniformity. I don't like being put in a box. I hate the like this one thing, but if I were to share the starting point for it is putting a hand on my heart and my belly and taking 5 deep breaths and asking what is true for me right now. Because depending on what's true for me, I need a different modality. That is very much, it's constantly pivoting. Sometimes I need tapping, sometimes I need to take myself through, my own meditation, or I borrow something from my mentor, or it's a Kundalini practice. But just that hand on your heart and your belly and asking, what is true for me right now? And what does that piece of me need? Am I stressed? Am I sad? Do I need a hug? Do I need to like have a rage moment? Do I maybe need to scream into my pillow? Do I need a kitchen dance party? It's just, can you have that conversation with your body to ask it, what is true for me right now and what do I need? Not how do I fix this? Not why am I feeling this way? We're not coaching ourselves through it. Like, love yourself, give yourself, honor yourself. What is it that you need right now in this moment?
Hmm. Thank you for sharing that and giving the multitude of tools that you could use in that moment. And one of my favorite wrap-up questions on the show is, what is your biggest piece of advice? Caveat here, you can give more than one if you need to, for someone to go out and create a life they love.
Stay open. Really, coming back to that saying at the beginning of this episode, show me how good it can get. Can you just remain open to the plan being something that you can't even visualize? There is not a single moment when I started my business in 2022, I had so much resistance to the 5 year plan. And I can see that it's because at the time I couldn't see myself being here. There was such a block. And I think just staying so open to possibility and living in integrity with yourself too. It's not to say that I'm going to hop in the river and just free float and it'll take me where it takes me, because it might take you over a waterfall. We don't want to be there. Be in the kayak on the river and choose, I want to take this fork. And maybe you will end up close to a waterfall, but hopefully you're aware enough that you can get out and get to safety before you're there. But like, surrender and know where the line is, where you still need control, not to grip or perform or say, this is what I want it to be, but to still have that influence, right? We get to co-create with God, divine, universe, spirit, like whoever it is that you connect with. Be in that co-creation and learn that it's a relationship and it's ever evolving. And what you want this year, by this time next year, might not even be what you want. And it might transpire in different ways. And just, yeah, staying open, I think, is the biggest thing. Show me how good it can get.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. And I'd love for you to share with the listeners where they can reach out, connect with you.
Yeah, Instagram is my favorite. I always say I love using social media to actually be social. So don't be a ghost, don't be a fly on the wall. Come show some love on some content that resonates with you. Come into my stories. I share very like real life. I don't just share client testimonials, what I'm selling, all of those things. Like, I'm also sharing the experiences that I have with my kids, how I'm parenting, what I'm navigating as a high human being. Come have conversation with me, connect with me. I have some free resources on my website as well. If you're curious about Kundalini, you're like, what is that? When you go to my website, the first pop-up that happens gets you free access to my Kundalini library. It's something that I could put on YouTube, but I just can't be bothered right now to have another place to be in all of the things. So I just have it in that one container right now. But yeah, come say
Okay.
hi, be social. I love it.
Excellent. I will definitely have that all linked in the show notes for everyone. Thank you so, so much for joining me on the show today and having this conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.